Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from MRC Newsbusters, America's media watchdog, dated October 28th. It says journalists versus the far right, hardline, and ultra conservative House GOP. That's another article that I saw where we just have supposed journalists, and I say that with the scariest scare quotes possible, that like to, lie about stuff because they're just awful at doing their jobs. And what they lie about is just all this stuff about what this is about is the Speaker of the House. We just got a new Speaker, and so I'm recording this a few days afterwards and just seeing the reactions in the news about journalists saying all of this stuff that just isn't actually true because a lot of them don't really know what they're talking about. So let's get into this. It says over the past 4 weeks, as the broadcast networks have covered the House leadership contest, reporters have gone out of their way to relentlessly paint House Republicans, especially the Freedom Caucus, as ideologues who are outside the American political mainstream. From September 25th to October 23rd, MRC analysts reviewed all 82 ABC, CBS, and NBC morning and evening news stories about John Boehner's resignation as House Speaker and the race to succeed him. CBS provided the most coverage. It was 31 stories, totaling 54 minutes of airtime. NBC was next. It was 30 stories at 38 minutes, followed by ABC, which aired just 21 stories for 24 minutes on its morning and evening newscast during this period. In these stories, MRC analysts documented how network reporters assigned a whopping 106 ideological labels to House Republicans, either to individual members of Congress or factions within the GOP. Says overwhelmingly, the networks used conservative tags to talk about Republicans. Fully 98% of these labels, that's 104, talked about conservatives or those on the right. Just two referred to either moderate Republicans or a mainstream Republican. That would be Representative Kevin McCarthy, according to ABC's Martha Raddatz on the September 27th Good Morning America. One third of the conservative labels, that was 35, painted the targets as somehow extreme, far right, hardline, very conservative, or ultra conservative. Such deliberate labeling is designed to stigmatize conservatives, casting them as outside of the mainstream ideologues as compared to their usually unlabeled adversaries. Right. And that's what you see a lot in reporting these days because it's so ideologically to the left. It's funny, the people calling the right ideologues are very much ideologues themselves. But what you see a lot is people on the right get labeled as things, so people on the left never do. So they won't say like the liberal, congressman or the leftist congresswoman, or anything like that, or far left. They won't say that. But the thing is, there's no far right congressmen in Congress. They don't exist in Congress. None of them are ultra conservative, none are hardline, none are very conservative. I might say very conservative, okay, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. But there's no far right. There's no hardliners. There's no ultra conservatives. Yeah. So I mean, like again, it's a complete mislabeling, as the article says. It says the media's repeated labeling of conservatives as outside the mainstream is something that liberals don't have to face. There were no such labels of any House Democrats during the 4 weeks we reviewed. See, as I said, and a Nexus search of the network morning and evening news shows found only one American politician, Vermont socialist and Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders, has been called far left this year. Well, he legitimately is far left because he's a freaking commie, and as it says, well, it's a socialist, but he's really a commie. So that's legitimately far left. This back on the April 30th edition of Good Morning America, ABC's Jonathan Cowles called Sanders a 73-year-old grandfather with that unruly white hair and far left political views. And earlier this month, NBC's Andrea Mitchell suggested Hillary Clinton could go after him, that's Sanders, for being too far left to lead the party in the fall. The congressional Democrats in the White House were never referred to as hardline in their positions. Indeed, the closest thing to a reference to a hardline Democrat came back on May 6th when NBC's Miguel Almaguer, sorry if I got that wrong, said on Today that Hillary Clinton was drawing a hard line between herself and her Republican rivals on the issue of illegal immigration. That doesn't seem like that really counts. And there have been absolutely no references this year to any very liberal, ultra liberal Democratic politicians. Not surprised even in the littlest. The slightest. I can talk. Says the slanted labeling of Republicans began almost as soon as Speaker of the House John Boehner announced his resignation. On the September 25th nightly news, anchor Lester Holt said Boehner quit because of a challenge from members of the far right of his party. And, well, that would be literally nobody, so nobody challenged him? How about that? The next morning on ABC's Good Morning America, reporter Mary Bruce told her audience that Boehner had clashed with unruly hardline conservatives. On CBS This Morning, Saturday, this CBS This Morning, Saturday, says the network's senior political editor Steve Chagaris said hardline Tea Party conservatives were threatening a government shutdown in the Planned Parenthood fight. After Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy ended his bid to replace Boehner, ABC correspondent Jonathan Call on Good Morning America said McCarthy had failed to win over the group of far right House conservatives. On CBS that same morning, October 9th, congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes said McCarthy had been opposed by the same 40 hardline conservatives who wanted to unseat their current speaker, John Boehner. On the CBS Evening News that night, CBS Face the Nation host John Dickerson opined about a potential bid by Representative Paul Ryan to become Speaker. The reason he wouldn't want the job is that he is more like Boehner and McCarthy. He is not like the ultra conservatives. So you can see kind of what they're doing here. Says reporters regularly portray conservatives as an obstacle to be overcome. On the October 11th NBC Nightly News, correspondent Kristen Welker noted how even some Republican hardliners had agreed to support Ryan if he decided to run. On the October 19th CBS This Morning, Nancy Cortez wondered if these 40 or so hardline conservatives will make a lot of demands on Ryan. That night on the CBS Evening News, Cortez reported that Ryan was not willing to horse trade with those 40 or so very conservative members called the House Freedom Caucus. They're not like very conservative. They like freedom. We're done. That's it. That's a conversation. So 2 days later on Good Morning America, ABC's Tom Yamas said Ryan was demanding the support of Republicans, including the far right members of the party. And again, there's nobody there that exists, so doesn't know what he's talking about. Says that night, ABC's David Wright described the Freedom Caucus as Tea Party members who bedeviled Speaker John Boehner. The next day, Today host Savannah Guthrie pronounced the Freedom Caucus the hardliners in the House. And it says see the text box for examples, and it just goes on to basically the same sort of things. We're going to skip over that. It says, according to its mission statement, the Freedom Caucus is in the House of Representatives stands for limited government, the Constitution, and the rule of law. Yeah, that's horrible. Oh no. Those gosh darn those hardliners just wanting what the founders wanted when they started this whole experiment in the first place. Because while the group has clearly generated a debate among conservatives about specific political tactics, there's nothing radical about the group's obviously mainstream conservative positions. Network reporters also assured audiences that, despite the misgivings of some conservatives, there is no reason to doubt Paul Ryan's conservative credentials. On the October 9th, I'm sorry, again, I can read, Today's Show, NBC's Willie Geist said Ryan was highly respected among conservatives and Republicans on the Hill. Then on October 21st Evening News, CBS's Cortez insisted Ryan should be a conservative's dream speaker, basically because Paul Ryan was like about as middle of the road as they come. So because he fit what they wanted, of course, they're like, oh yeah, he's totally great. They totally picked that guy. Because the media's one-sided use of the labels to attempt to marginalize conservatives is well documented, and there's 3 examples it says to click on there, which we're not going to do for the sake of the running time of this particular video, but of course the article's linked below, and you can certainly do that if you want to. But it's rarely been as egregious as it has during the past month, as network reporters uniformly cast conservatives as the cause of chaos in the House of Representatives. Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, it's not them, but okay, sure. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring this up because again, showing just the bias of our absolutely astonishingly bad media. So let me know what you think in the comments below about this. Do you agree with this? What do you think about them labeling conservatives as something, but liberals as, well, nothing at all? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.